Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Scarlet by A.C. Gaughen. This is the first book in a YA trilogy that is a Robin Hood retelling. In this, Will Scarlet, which is one of Robin Hood's merry men, is actually Scarlet, who is a woman. And so this is just kind of retelling that story. They're a little bit younger than the original Robin Hood. I think she's like 18 and Robin's like 21. Like, they're in that kind of like older teen age range, and it's really kind of following their tale. So let's just jump right into this with the world building. This is, like I said, a reimagined Robin Hood, and it kind of follows those beats. I'm not super familiar with Robin Hood, so it's not like I was looking for certain things, but it's such a big part of pop culture that like I recognize certain names, and like I knew who like Friar Tuck was and like Nottingham and all of that. So it has those basic elements. I don't think anything super original was done with it, but that world building part of it was done like fairly well. That's where the good stuff stops. Let me next talk about our characters, because they're all awful. So first off, we have Scarlet as a main character, and we're in her head, and the thing that really bugged me is that she has a way of speaking. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so instead of saying was, she says were for like all the time, and it's supposed to be this way that the author depicts, like, she's rough around the edges, but it's really annoying. So it's like, there were treasures, the metal darker than most I'd seen. It were hot and stank of beer and men. Like, these kinds of things, and that's throughout the book, and I find that so grating. So after I read this book, I looked back and I saw that this was published in 2012. I'm going to reference this because I think this time period in YA is like super evident when you read these books, because it's just when YA is really starting to take off, and it's a lot of like the same kind of tropes. And something that was used a lot with writing that I noticed from this time was this like changing the way that characters speak to depict this, but in like a really annoying way. Like, obviously that's a writing technique that you can use, and it can be done really well, but I feel like a lot of times it was done really poorly. Like, I feel like the Maze Runner did this. Like, it was just, it's a trope, it's a technique that I hate. So as soon as she started talking like that, I'm like, crap, because you're gonna be in her head the whole time and it's gonna be awful. She's also one of those like loner thief characters in the like vein of Delilah Bard, but I would say even worse than Delilah Bard, because I don't like Delilah Bard, but like, oh man, are you beating us over the head with it? And it's so obnoxious. And also, for a thief who's supposed to be really observant, she is the least observant person in the entire world. So she's a part of this love triangle, which becomes very evident very quickly. But she thinks both of these dudes like don't like her, except for it's blatantly obvious they both do. And it's just like, can you stop? And oh my god, there's also, I'm sorry, I'm already going off on the tangent. It's not even the gripe yet. I apologize. But there's also this like miscommunication trope that's used with all of this that ties into the her being unobservant, where she just is like, it's not because they like me, it's because of this. And it's like, no, you moron. It's because they like you and you're in a love triangle. And that continued for most of the book, which is just like infuriating. I didn't like her as a main character. I didn't understand the times that she was like being like stubborn. I don't know why she pushes everyone away. There's like reasoning for it, but I don't think it's very good reasoning. Like, it's just very sloppily done. Speaking of the love triangle, the two dudes in the love triangle treat her really poorly. Like, really poorly. One I would say even more than the other, but neither one is done very well. They both are depicted as like hero characters. Again, one more than the other. And it's just like, but they treat her like shit. Like, the one at one point calls her a whore and a liar, and blames her for things that aren't her fault, and pushes her around at one point, and then also blames his behavior like on her. He's like, I push you away not to hurt you, and I say these things to hurt myself. And it's like, but you say them to her. It's trash. And then the other guy does like similar sort of controlling things, but like also his big thing is like touching her, kissing her without consent, like ever. And like demand, you know, doing something for her and then being like, I'll do it if you give me a kiss. And it's just all of it is creepy, and I don't like it. Like, I was not okay with this. Like, it just was like, people really like this love triangle apparently, which is why I picked this up like years ago. But when I first joined BookTube to try to read this, I bought this like a long time ago because people were talking about it. A lot of bloggers were talking about it. It was a big series that was going around. Oh, what were we doing in 2012? I don't understand. Like, why was any of this okay? I think it's before we were having these like conversations about like what's okay and not okay. No. And the cherry on top for the badness with the characters is that the villains are so one-dimensional and simple and have like no motivation for why they're being so awful. Like, they're awful, but it's just like, why though? Like, there's no explanation for why they would do all these horrible things, like, you know, like just murdering a bunch of people or like really into torture, and you're just like, but why? Like, why is there no explanation? And it's not even like I'm okay with just a villain's bad because they're bad, but like, even I didn't even feel that. It was just like, why are they doing the things that they're doing? It makes no sense. Next, let me talk about the plot. This was a very easy to read book. I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days, but it also was like boring at times. There's a lot of like meandering where you're going and they're doing something, but there's this long pause for a side conversation or something that isn't really necessary because it slows it down a ton. Also, there's a lot of twists in here that aren't twists at all because they're very predictable, and the twists are also irritating because they affect certain other things about the story that then like don't make sense. Like, there's a lot of plot holes that are just like, okay, if you're gonna do that twist, then this thing doesn't quite make sense, or the reasoning for this thing is very shoddy. I found the reading experience of this like very irritating, although it's weird because right now I obviously seem very irritated, but like when I was reading it I was fine with this because I read this thinking that it was going to be kind of a mediocre read, so I'm not devastated that this was bad, but I'm also just kind of appalled that this was so bad. I wasn't expecting it to be this bad. So obviously I did not have a fun time with Scarlet, and I gave it 1 out of 5 stars. I am going to be doing a spoilery gripe on this. Many of you are going to be very happy about that because I feel like it's been a while since I've done a gripe, so yeah, comment down below, let me know what you thought of Scarlet, and if you've read the book, go and check out my spoilery gripe, which will be linked on the screen. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!